Few coasters were as polarizing as Anaconda at Kings Dominion. Anaconda was an aerodynamics custom looping roller coaster that opened in 1991 and operated until November 3rd, 2024. It was located right above Lake Charles, stood 128 feet tall, had 2,700 feet of track, reached a top speed of 50 miles per hour, and had 4 inversions. While it was one of the weakest rides at Kings Dominion, Anaconda was worth at least one ride, especially for first-time visitors to the park. With the ride's unexpected and unannounced closure and recent removal from the park, it only seems fitting to describe what it was like to ride this coaster. This is our full-length, in-depth review of Anaconda and our comments about what it was like to ride this coaster. Now, let's get into the review. Anaconda was located in the Jungle Expedition section of Kings Dominion. It opened in 1991, the year before the Kings Entertainment Company sold the park to Paramount Communications. It went around and over Lake Charles, which is now much smaller since the park used some of it for its water park, Soak City. Nonetheless, this setting offered some great visuals. To get to Anaconda, you walked through the Candy Apple Grove and Jungle X sections of the park, and once you entered Jungle X, you would go in the same direction that you would if you were headed to Flight of Fear and Pantherian. Instead of going to those coasters, however, you took a right at the Chicken Shack restaurant and headed straight towards the entrance to the ride's queue. The ride sign you saw as you approached the ride wasn't anything special. It was actually quite generic compared to the other ride signs in the park. You walked underneath that ride sign and right into a narrow fenced-in queue, which went alongside Lake Charles and right towards the station. As you made your way through the queue, you would have seen the ride's final 2 inversions. This was a cool visual, especially when the trains traversed them. That visual was all you saw though, as Anaconda had no real theming at all. When you reached the ride platform, you would have seen a plain-looking station and one of Anaconda's 2 7-car, 28-passenger trains. Once you boarded your train, secured your over-the-shoulder restraints, and cleared dispatch, you took a small dip out of the station and traveled along a short section of straight track before reaching the lift hill to begin your ride. At the top of the lift hill, you took a banking right-hand turn down into the ride's 144-foot first drop, which flew through an underwater tunnel. At the bottom of that first drop, you actually got a good amount of positive G-forces, which pinned you to your seat. You then pulled upwards and flew into the ride's first inversion, a vertical loop. This vertical loop pulled some good G-forces and also had some good whip for those heading towards the back of the train. Out of that vertical loop, you then flew into the ride's second inversion, a Sidewinder, which was really just a half batwing. The Sidewinder also pulled some strong positive G-forces, which might have been stronger than those on the vertical loop. As you whipped out of the Sidewinder, you then climbed up onto the mid-course brake run. Those mid-course brakes were where the ride experience began to suffer as you slowed down to a near crawl. The brakes sapped all the momentum you had built up coming out of the Sidewinder. Coming off of the mid-course brake run, you then took a downward left-hand banked turn, followed by a weak oscillating helix. You then took a right-hand banked turn, which traveled upwards, followed by another right-hand banked turn. While banked, you then entered the ride's finale, consecutive corkscrews. Those corkscrews looked great, especially since you were entirely over water. After that second corkscrew, you banked towards the right, followed by a left-hand banked turn up into the final brake run to complete your ride. All things considered, Anaconda was actually an okay roller coaster. While it was not spectacular, it was not particularly terrible. It was janky. There's no doubt about that. It had some good moments packed with some positive G-forces though. The first half of Anaconda was powerful. It was a Ron Toomer designed aero looper, and the valley at the bottom of the first drop and the first 2 inversions pulled some good G-forces. And Anaconda's first half was actually not too rough. It glided through those first 2 inversions nicely. Where Anaconda suffered was that second half, beginning with the mid-course brake run. The mid-course brake run hit so hard that it actually slammed you forward and slowed the train down to a near crawl. As you came off of that mid-course brake run, you experienced Anaconda's jankiest moments. Those turns before the double corkscrews felt abrupt. They did not feel fluid at all given the tangent radius design in the track. While the corkscrews themselves felt relatively smooth, the entry point to them felt off, which definitely detracted from what could have been a good part of the ride. Despite its janky moments, Anaconda did not bother us as much as it bothered others. There was some headbanging, though it was not so bad as to completely ruin the ride. So, was Anaconda worth riding? For a first-time rider who wanted to get all the credits at the park, yes, though there was no need to rewrite it. For someone who had ridden it already, maybe. While it was definitely a one-and-done roller coaster, Anaconda was worth a reride once in a while, especially since the first half was actually quite good. It was also cool that this roller coaster had the first ever underwater tunnel. It was unfortunate that such a mediocre roller coaster had one of the best locations in the park though. With the ride's recent removal, it will be interesting to see what the park decides to do with that plot of land. Will the park keep the lake and replace it with another roller coaster? Or will they do what Wallaby Belgium did with their lake and put some landscaping in and around it? Who knows? Only time will tell. Overall, Anaconda was an okay roller coaster with some standout moments. Its first half before the brake run was actually quite good and pulled some strong positive G-forces. But that mid-course brake run and everything after took away from that strong first half. Even the entry to the double corkscrews felt a little awkward. For our final score, we give Anaconda a 5.5 out of 10. That first half made Anaconda worth riding at least once for those who had not ridden it before, and those corkscrews over the water actually gave a good visual. Nonetheless, Anaconda was definitely a one and done and a ride worth skipping, which might have been a reason why Kings Dominion removed it without any announcement. So, let us know in the comments below if you got to ride Anaconda at Kings Dominion, and if so, what you thought about it. And if you enjoyed this video or are new to the channel, please like and subscribe for more coaster content like this. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more coaster reviews and amusement park content coming soon to Coaster Adventures, and we hope to see you in the next one.